Hey guys, we're in beautiful Newport Beach. Ran into Jody here and your cute dog. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Fantastic. It was, kind of serendipity. We're looking at these bikes. This is the founder of Electric Bike Company, and we're looking at the Model A over here. You were saying like your daughter sees people riding these. She's looking at e-bikes?
Yeah, all the kids in middle school and high school own these bikes in the area, and they ride around in little EBC gangs.
I'm glad kids are out there enjoying these, and yeah. I hope your daughter gets one.
Thank you so much.
Well guys, we are looking at the Model A today. It's the affordable version, $14.99 for this, which is pretty exciting. Here in Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, Long Beach area, they actually have 3 physical shops. You can go in there, kind of like headquarter shops. They got all the accessories, maybe you meet the founder or something like that. And that is wonderful. This company does so much. There's so many options and ways to customize it and personalize it, but they're also really authentic in terms of where they build it and how they set this up. So they source the best components from like 17 countries, and then they prep them, and then they paint them if you pay for some of the customization, and then they assemble it and they test it right here. And it's really neat to see that in person. If you buy it locally like that, you don't have to pay the shipping, which is about 250 bucks. But they do ship all over the United States, and they've got 200 dealers in North America. So that's exciting too, because again, you wouldn't have to pay shipping. You can go in there, maybe look at their little experience center, maybe go for a demo ride. And that's awesome. I consider this bike to be very affordable considering all of the accessories that it comes with. This is the stock setup, okay? You can go nuts with this thing, and you can add fenders, and they have an optional front rack and extra battery, higher capacity, all kinds of stuff I'm going to talk about. But this is what you get for $14.99. It's very impressive. Okay, first of all, the wheels on this bike are a little bit smaller. A lot of their other models are 26-inch. These are 24, so it's not quite as tall, and that lowers the whole frame. It also makes it very sturdy. The spokes don't have to be as long, and it lowers the standover height slightly, so it's a little bit more approachable. Jody was talking about her daughter, and you think about kids and stuff. If you're growing, it's nice to have something that's approachable, but this isn't, it's not exactly a kid's bike. It's still pretty full size. The weight capacity on this has actually been raised. They've improved the dropouts here at the back to make them sturdier. So I think it's 420-pound max weight capacity on this, which is that's a lot. Most electric bikes I see, they're only rated to like 250, 300 pounds. So again, almost like overkill. The rear rack here, 27 kilograms. It's like 60-pound capacity. And this is MIK compatible. So there's like racks and baskets that can clip right on. You've also got this kind of a spring latch, got bungee anchors down here, pannier blockers. It's a really good rack, and it supports these one integrated light and an additional light with turn signals. And we have these 2 lights on the side, all of them very visible from the side. More turn signals up front, and this high beam, low beam headlight, 120 lumens on this thing. So again, all of these lights come with the bike. If you look back at the wheels here, we were talking about this before, 24-inch tire by 3-inch width. So they're very wide. It's going to give you a little bit more comfort, some stability side to side, and it helps to lower the attack angle a little bit, because the smaller wheels, you have a high attack angle. So a bigger tire, I think that's a really good way to go. These are in-house tires that they do. I think they're called the Rhino, and they've got puncture protection built right in, as well as the reflective sidewall stripe. So coming back to safety, like overkill on the lights plus reflective tires, really nice to see that. And it's not a lot of fun getting a flat. The front wheel, this is 100mm hub spacing. It's got a nice quick release, so it's easier to change a flat there. In the rear, this is a hub motor setup with a 12mm threaded keyed axle. So you need some tools to actually remove this and do some work. But again, if you have the shop nearby, you can get some tune-ups. I think it's like a 2-year warranty on the parts, but they also sell a lot of parts if you need replacement. Is that right, Sean?
Correct. We have the parts readily available, and you just call in 24 hours. We'll send you the part and a little video on exactly how to install that.
That's awesome. They do have a lot of really good video resources. While we're back here, I want to mention there's some extra like metal pieces hanging around, because you can get this with a 7-speed drivetrain. By default, it's a single speed like this. And I think they've upgraded their chain. It's meant to be rust resistant. 58 tooth aluminum alloy chainring up front with kind of a bash guard. Protects the bottom bracket. It also keeps your pants or dress from touching and getting greasy. You can see like a little controller box down here. It's going to protect that area and the wires and stuff. In the back, 18 tooth freewheel, so you can kind of pedal this thing backwards if you'd like. But alternative, you pay a little bit more. You get a 7-speed Shimano tourney, 14 to 28 tooth. I think it's a freewheel, so it's kind of basic, kind of entry level. But then you've got speeds. This is kind of set up, it sort of looks like a cruiser to me, and a lot of cruisers are single speed like this. You don't drop the chain quite as easily, you reduce some weight, and you don't have as much clutter up front. A bike having a twist throttle like this, it's like maybe you don't need gears. If you do get the gears, I think you get like the thumb shifter right here from Shimano. It's something I think about. I like shifting gears, but again, for a bike like this, I think it makes sense and it might hold up a little bit better. We do have quick disconnect for that rear motor. And let's just get into it. This is another in-house part. You can see EBC Electric Bike Company branded. It is a 500 watt nominal, 750 watt peak planetary geared hub motor. It's pretty smooth and quiet. I think they have a 25 amp controller now, which is nice. By default, you've got a 12 magnet sealed cadence sensor down there, but for $100 extra, you can get a torque sensor, which might feel a little bit more dynamic. For some people, it's natural. It's like if I push harder, it gives me more power in response. Whereas this is just sort of on and off. But there are 5 levels of assist, and if you're in the lower level of assist, it feels a little bit smoother, and you don't have to exert as much energy. So this might not be quite as efficient as a torque sensor, but in some ways you turn the cranks and the bike responds. There are a lot of options. Again, with the throttle up here, by default, when you activate that, it's sort of capped or limited by the level of assist, but Sean was telling me you could actually remove that and get full power with the throttle. The settings menu on this is just insane. There's so much there. So 30.4 millimeter rigid seat post. It's not my favorite design. There's kind of a taper at the top and you got these nuts, but this thing ships ready to ride, or if you get it from a dealer, it's set up pretty well. Big oversized comfort saddle that they use on a lot of their bikes. I've seen and enjoyed this many times in the past. We got the elastomers back here, and we've got a big oversized quick release collar for that clamp, and so it's a little bit easier to raise or lower the seat post. 350 millimeters on that post, so a little bit more adjustability than I've seen in the past. I like that the battery is positioned low and center on this frame. Some of the other electric bike company models have like a battery in the back, and it takes up some of the space on the rack and some of the weight capacity. This is just right where you want it. It's low, it's center, it's easy to reach that charging port on the right side. The bike sort of tips towards the kickstand. We've got an on-off switch, so you can kind of hibernate this thing if you aren't using it a lot. You can charge it on or off the frame. The locking cylinder is on the left side, and it's pretty easy to remove. There's even a little charge level indicator. So for me, this is like perfect. A lot of the other electric bikes I've seen recently, they'll have like a charging port right down here, right where the crank arm is, and that sort of sucks, because if you bump those crank arms, it can kind of get bumped out of position. I've got my gloves on here, but 7 pounds for this battery pack. Again, storing this in a cool, dry location and keeping it fairly full, or at least 50% if you aren't using it, that's going to help it last longer and get more full cycles. 3 bolts for the interface here, which is kind of overbuilt. It's a little sturdier than the older 2-bolt design. And you can see there are quite a few wires, but that makes it a little bit more modular, easier to work on, and they all have the quick disconnects and stuff down here. 170 millimeter crank arms, and we have these resin union pedals with the Electric Bike Company logo and rubberized tread. One of the things you'll hear me complain about a lot on these bikes is like, pedal lock. So if you walk the bike backwards or you spin the cranks like I just did, they hit the kickstand. But it is an adjustable length, very sturdy kickstand that doesn't get in the way when I'm pedaling or anything. And it's positioned right at the center of the bike. So remember, the battery is right there, the kickstand is right there. And when you think about the way these racks are set up, this thing almost becomes a cargo bike. So high capacity, 60-pound rating back here. You could do panniers, a trunk bag. and then an optional front basket that does replace this big headlight, but it comes with another light beam at the bottom, and it has a 50-pound capacity. So you could handle like 100 pounds of cargo on this, more than 100 pounds. And I think that's awesome. That front basket mounts to kind of the steer tube, sort of a boxy thing going on here. So it doesn't tip or move as you steer the bike. And that's great. It gives you that extra strength. It's done the way it should be, in my opinion. They even have an optional battery version where you get, you know, extended capacity. So remember, this thing already comes in like 12 amp hour, 14 amp hour. They might even have a higher capacity in the future, 48 volt. And then you get an additional battery pack up front. It just becomes almost unstoppable. You still maintain the lights and everything. One downside of this design, however, is even with this nice fancy bracket, the headlights don't point where you steer. And so I guess as a sort of a compromise, having such a big light, there's a lot of surface area. We have the high and low beams. There's a switch up here, easy to change things as you're riding. It's all about trade-offs, but I think, frankly, I'm really impressed with that. The bike overall, as you see here, without any of the upgrades, weighs 61 pounds. Just weighed it back at the shop, and that's decent, but again, it doesn't have fenders or anything. I think part of the weight is it's got the rear rack, the big saddle, the overbuilt steer post, and then a steel fork that does weigh a little bit more, but it's also sturdier. You can see the mounting points for fenders and stuff like that. And then this steel BMX handlebar. That's one of the highlights here on the Model A, along with the adjustable angle stem. Okay, this is like 100 millimeters, and you can put it really far forward or straight up like we have, 0 to 60 degrees. It's a quill stem, so you can kind of raise or lower it. 25.4 millimeter clamp here, so that's sort of the, you know, kind of a cruiser older standard, but very sturdy. And there's even space to, you know, mount your phone or do additional things up here. They have all kinds of accessories that they sell. Locking grips. These ones are kind of the faux leather branded electric bike company, but they also have rubber, like ergonomic ones. Lots and lots of choices. There's a horn, there's turn signals, there's the button pad. And of course, we mustn't forget about the brakes. So I mentioned 61 pounds. You want to be able to stop. So they've got these hydraulic brakes, Bengal Aries 3 levers. These are almost like mountain bike levers, just 2 fingers. That's all you need, with 180 millimeter rotors, front and rear, dual piston calipers. And yeah, I especially like hydraulic disc brakes for a bike where you're loaded up. Maybe younger people are riding it. Just feels like a great safety feature. And these ones activate the rear lights as sort of an additional upgrade here. So if we turn on the display by holding the power button there, make sure that the battery is on first. Now we have like a terms and conditions screen. And this is just another safety feature. We click the plus arrow and then accept, and we're in. If I hold the plus button for a couple seconds, we get a light icon. All the lights are active now, and then the rear lights go bright whenever I pull the brake lever. I mean, this is just fantastic. Look, there's 3 LEDs on each side here at the middle of the bike that are visible from the side. A wraparound kind of a lens. This is a Spaninga light, and then they have their own light with 2 LEDs and the turn signals. So I want to show you that real quick. We're left turn signal. We got that orange light, and it's got it up front as well. And these things are kind of rubberized, so if you bump into a wall or something, they don't just get wrecked. Let's do the high and low beams on that headlight. That's cool. And I like the running light around the edge here. It's a very bright day, so it's, you know, when you get back in the shop or in a darker location, it really stands out. And it is adjustable, so you can aim this. It's high enough that it's not going to get blocked by a fender or the tire. So coming back to the display, you know, this is adjustable angle. It's 3.5 inch diagonal, and it's color. Okay, so the default readout here is different. It's sort of a new display that they didn't have in the past, and I really like it. At the top, we have a battery percentage as well as an infographic, much more precise than just 4 or 5 bars. It doesn't leave you guessing. I really like that. Then we have assist levels. There are 5 dots. It starts in assist level 1, but you could take it down to 0 and just use this like, you know, an acoustic bicycle with lights. All the way up to 5, you're going to get the most power and speed unless you make adjustments in the settings, and then again the throttle can override assist. Otherwise it's sort of capped. We got runtime on the display, and pedal assist isn't on by default. I think you actually have to hold the minus key, and then it activates on. So it sort of starts as a throttle only. And that's another unique feature about this. We've got a speedometer here on the left, power in watts, and if we press the power button here on the left, it goes to cadence, current, and speed. So all of that's right there at the top of the display. And then we have our other readouts here. So temperature outside, voltage, odometer, and trip distance. That's pretty much the whole thing. But don't forget, there's also a USB port. That's something I was looking for here. I was like, oh, Sean, can you still charge? And he said, yes, of course. It's up here on the button pad. It's full-size USB Type A. And up here makes a lot of sense. You know, again, if you have an accessory or a phone mount or something, you can tap into that battery capacity. So Sean's wearing one of the Electric Bike Company helmets here. I love this thing. Why don't you take that off real quick, Sean? So these are so cool. You can get different colors. You can match the little rubber trim going around that. The straps, can I see the inside of that? Yeah, it looks really nice. It has the crown adjustment, so you can tighten it up, and then a magnetic clasp.
Correct.
And then there's also a USB-C charging port on the back here. So if we just pull this rubber thing up, so you just want to bring the little cable, and maybe you could kind of hang it on the handlebar just like that, and then you could charge this up. So it's such a cool ecosystem. Yeah, so you just have a cable from there to there, and you'd be set. I've done my best to, you know, be comprehensive and go through this, but Sean, is there anything in the background that he feels like I missed? Or
I just think one of the things, because this is you know, be all about safety, is one of the light sensor that's on the
oh, how can I forget? Yes, thank you.
So that's kind of nice. It's really good for the kids that forget to turn their, you know, if we all do at some point, but it's kind of got automatic light sensor.
What exactly? He's saying that, like, if you just turn the bike on and it's dark, you don't have to hold the plus button like I did. It would automatically turn the lights on.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and the other thing, probably because we're here at Newport Beach, around, you know, corrosive environment, we all about the rust resistance. So integrated bearings and the brass nipples, and you know, that's one of our big things. We try to make everything on the bike, even the smallest hardware, is rust resistant stainless.
Well, and thank you. I mean, this is so good. So thicker spokes, 36 hole front and rear. So that's part of that strength, the wider rim to support the wider tire. And then he's talking about this as a sealed bottom bracket. The bearings aren't going to rust as much. It's going to hold up better. And the chain, that was the other thing you're talking about. You're also working on, you know, your battery charger is above average at 3.5 amps. Most are just 2 amps. And so that's nice, especially if you get the higher capacity battery. And I think all your stuff's becoming UL certified.
Correct. UL certification this year, a really big focus for us. Safety, you know, hydraulic disc brakes, really nice. Also against the corrosion. So yeah, we're looking at lighting, UL approval, and of course non-rust.
Okay, anything else I missed?
You've done a great job.
I do my best. And,
yes.
and you know, I understand the compromises a little bit here. We're talking about the kickstand, and you were talking about how the positioning is important when you get that front rack. And it's like, well, okay, a pedal lock is a side effect, but it makes more sense to me. There really isn't a lot here that's thoughtless. I love that you can upgrade to the suspension seat post on any of these bikes, but you can also get a suspension fork.
Correct.
So this is the Model R, rugged is what that stands for. It comes with the suspension fork, and it's like $23.99. It's got kind of that integrated battery. This is what I was talking about versus having one that's kind of a plastic on top. But I must say, they also sell a Model X, and it's a very similar bike, and the batteries are cross compatible. So that's a benefit. And if you're someone who wants a step through, you know, this is an option. Or they have a Model Y. So, you know, maybe you're someone with the hips or your knees can't get up as high. They've got a whole bunch of choices, and this is one of the custom colors that we're looking at here, and it just looks brilliant. And they carry it all through the frame. Another thing they're talking about, you know, this one, it's got the cruiser swept back handlebar versus the BMX, but I think that's a choice they give you. And you can also choose, do I want a twist throttle or a trigger throttle? I mean, you can really just go nuts.
Correct. Yeah, that's it's up to the customer how he would like his bike, and then we build it accordingly, and then of course ship it to the local dealer or destination of his choice.
Fantastic. And you guys have been around since 2012. We've covered a bunch of your bikes in the past. I think it's wonderful that you sell online or direct through a bunch of shops like that, and the network's been growing.
Yes, sir. It's been growing. We have just over 200 dealers now, and yeah, we hopefully keep growing.
It's just amazing. Yeah, it's nice to see. Again, lots of choices out there. Okay, so I've got this in the highest level of assist, level 5, And there's a bit of a hill in front of me. So one of the tests with a single speed drivetrain like this, it's a 58 tooth chainring, so it's a little bit larger, which actually means it's sort of slower and harder to start and to climb. So thankfully, you know, we've got a decently powerful hub motor. I think they said it's like 60 Newton meters of torque. The smaller wheel size gives that motor a mechanical advantage. So all of those things combined, it's like, well, you know, you got the throttle and it might take a second to get started. This is one of those considerations for the torque sensor, because I think that would be more instant than cadence, but then you got to keep working to have it really engage. So I'm just gonna ease into it with the throttle. Yeah, I mean, there's really no problem getting going. It's climbing just fine, and this is an incline. This would be a lot of work to pedal up. Very nice. And I think it's a 12 magnet sealed cadence sensor, so it's fairly high resolution. Seems to be picking up pretty quickly. And even though I'm sure this looks dark on camera, I can read the display. You know, it's doing pretty well. Oh, and I should tell you before we finish here, if I want to go to that settings menu, I wanted to show you what that looks like. You just hold plus and minus. You can do that at any time. With their old displays, you had to do it right after you turned it on, so it was a little bit more hidden. So there's standby, units, backlighting. Like, let's go into this one. I can just go over here to backlight. It's all the way up at 3 right now. Theme, that's kind of interesting. Let's check that out. Wow, you can change the color. That's cool. Green, purple, gray, orange. Oh, I like that. Let's go to orange. And user interface. And then down here, we've got your odometer wheel. Class, so class, that's like making it a speed pedal. Like, you need to unlock it to get that. And I think also the current, that would make it a little zippier. And then other, you just got your display information. To get out of the settings, you hold plus and minus, and then you're just back there riding. Look at that, now it's orange. That's cool. Very cool, man. Yeah, I love this area.
Isn't that great?
Oh yeah. This is nice. Yeah. Woo. Oh man. Love it. Oh, this is great. I think that's it. Kind of wraps it up. I might do another just video going through their shop and their headquarters because they moved. And again, so much of this stuff is done by hand in person. Do you still spoke your wheels there and everything?
Yes, sir. 2 wheel machines.
Yeah, 2 wheel machines. They've grown a lot too. So I'm happy for you. I hope that helps you guys out. I do my best to be authentic. This is a free review. I'm couch camping at Sean's house, so it's meant to just be an objective look at the bike. I welcome your feedback and comments. I've got a compare tool back at ElectricBikeReview.com and forums so you can speak to actual owners. Love you guys. Ride safe. We'll see you next time.